I'm going to sort of start this over. Here we go. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. It is Wednesday at 2 o'clock and I'm really glad to be with you today. I want to talk to you about something today that I'm really excited about. And I think as soon as I tell you even what the title is, you're going to really be interested in tuning in, because today I want to teach you how to predict the future, right? Pretty compelling idea, isn't it? I mean, in a way, some of us think, oh, I would never want to know the future. But, think about all the times in your life, especially in regard to relationships. And since I am a relationship counselor, that's my main, thing. Think how many times in regard to relationships, you wish you knew the future, right? When somebody says, oh, I will never treat you that way again. Oh yeah, I did cheat, but I will never cheat on you again. Okay, you know what, honey? Yeah, you're right. I will such and such from now on. I will be ready on time. I will, and then, that's kind of a smaller thing, but from small things all the way to especially huge things, it'd be really nice if we could predict the future. That if when somebody tells us, yeah, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. Or yeah, I'm going to make a habit to start doing certain things that you need me to do. It'd be nice to know if we could actually depend on that. Well, you know what? There actually is a really rock solid way of predicting human behavior. Seriously. I mean, folks, you too can predict the future. Okay, I'm going to show you how in just the next few minutes. Before I go into it, though, I just want to say that I've already finished a blog post that I've written about this topic. I haven't published it yet. I have a few finishing touches I need to put on it. But if you're interested in what I'm saying today and would like to know a little bit more about it, I can promise you this blog post goes into way more detail than what I'm going to really want to take time to do in this video, okay? And I really love the way it ends. It ends with a list of possible objections people might have to some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, okay? So especially if you're hearing this and going, well, I don't know, I think maybe this or this, and you don't know for sure if you're really on track or agreeing, I would recommend that you check out the blog post, because I'm going to actually anticipate a lot of those questions, and I'm actually responding to those. Okay? So, here's the way you can predict the future. You know what? There is a whole business sector in the United States, actually everywhere around the world, that makes billions, I don't know, maybe trillions of dollars every year from predicting the future in exactly the way that I'm going to talk to you about, okay? And that business sector is the banking industry, the financial industry. And you think, well, how do they predict the future? Oh, my word, it's their bread and butter. I mean, they do it all the time, right? I mean, you have a FICO score? I mean, whether you know it or not, you have a FICO score, right? Unless you were like intentionally off the grid, okay? So everybody has a FICO score. And what is a FICO score? It's a number that is assigned to what? And you say, well, Dave, that doesn't have anything to do with the future, right? Because a FICO score is a number that is assigned to how you have acted with regard to your credit in the past. Whether you paid off your loans in the past, whether you've made payments on time in the past, okay? But why is that number given to you? Why is that number assigned to your past behavior? There's only one reason. It is specifically for the purpose of predicting what you are going to do in the future. That's the whole reason that that's given. Because when you go in to apply for that next, whether it's an auto loan or a mortgage or, just, I don't know, just spring, loan to do some home repairs, or, whatever it might be, the next time you need credit or the next time you want a credit card, right? The next time you ask a financial institution to extend credit to you, they're going to want to know, is this a good idea, right? If we give this person money, are we ever going to see our money again? Or are we just blowing this money away? And the financial industry needs to know that, right? I mean, it's how they, it's how they continue to do what they do. So they're giving you the number that they're giving you that is a number that reflects what you have done in the past. For what reason? For the reason that past behavior predicts future behavior. You want to predict the future? All you have to do is know what a person has typically done. And you know what? You can then know what they're probably going to do. Not 100%, but darn near. Really, really close most of the time. So that person that you've been in a relationship for 5 years and they keep criticizing you and cutting you down and speaking harshly to you, and they keep saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm never going to do that again, and then they keep doing it. The next time they criticize you and speak harshly to you and they come back to you, oh, give me another chance, I'm never going to do it again. Well, past behavior predicts future behavior. So when that person says that to you, you can be really confident. You can't be positive, but you can be really confident that that person who's been criticizing you and speaking harshly to you is going to continue to do that. Why? Because people will continue generally to be in the future the people they have been in the past. Right? So occasionally somebody makes a gigantic change, right? Occasionally a person who has claimed, bankruptcy, filed for bankruptcy 3 or 4, 5 times. Occasionally they get on a budget and they really, start tracking their finances in a different way, and within 5-10 years have tons and tons and tons of money in the bank and are in phenomenally healthy financial shape. But how often do you think that happens? Not very. Because people tend to do pretty much what they've done. Let me ask you this, we can personalize it a little bit. Is there anything in your life that you wish you could change, or maybe that you've worked on changing, that you've been maybe really sincere about changing and you've made many efforts, but again and again and again and again, you keep finding yourself kind of back where you started? Oh, I'm going to practice guitar and get really good. And you do for a while, and pretty soon you're like, wow, I haven't done that in months. I'm going to start meditating, and you meditate for few days or weeks or months, and pretty soon it's a distant memory, right? We know that gyms love the first of the year because people make resolutions. I'm going to get in shape, and they sign up for gym memberships in droves, and the vast majority never show up. They do for a few weeks, then they stop coming, but they don't cancel their memberships, and the gyms rake in money because there's people paying every month who aren't using their resources. Why? Because this is what people do. People generally are going to do what they did before. Okay? It sounds negative, it sounds pessimistic, but it's just the reality. Change is possible. Change happens. I work with people who are working on changing, and I see change happen regularly. But you know what else I see? I see how hard it is. I see how much work it takes. I see how difficult it can be to make a change and then stick with it and to be consistent. And then when you stop doing the change, how hard it is to start doing it again, how easy it is to let it go and drift back to whatever the baseline was. Past behavior predicts future behavior. So when that person says to you, hey, baby, here's what I'll do differently. Here's what I'm going to change. I'm not going to yell at you anymore. Okay, I'm not going to cheat on you anymore, right? I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to, use your own example. I bet you have examples of things people have told you they would do, and you believe them, and they didn't do it. So look, here's the deal. I'm going to wrap this up this way. And I said this on the blog. Let's say, Joe Blow comes up to you and says, can I borrow $250. Not a huge sum of money. He says, I need $250 for such and such thing. But let's say you know a little bit about Joe Blow, and you know Joe Blow's relational FICO score is like 320. By the way, 760 is considered an excellent FICO score. Okay, so 760 is excellent. Okay, and Joe Blow's score is, what did I say, 320 or something? I mean, you know this about Joe. You've seen Joe around. You know other people Joe has borrowed money from. You've talked with friends about how, he's not, the kind of person that pays loans back. And he comes to you and says, hey, can you loan me $250? I promise I'll pay it back. So here's the deal. We do have free will as people. I mean, you can totally choose to give Joe Blow that money, okay? But there's two ways this can be healthy, okay? It can be healthy if you choose to give Joe Blow the money because you've gone through a process where you've said, look, I know Joe's not going to pay this back, okay? But I'm going to give Joe the money because I want to, as an act of love or, whatever, of an act of goodwill. But you're saying to yourself, I release the money. I know Joe is never going to pay this back, but I want to do this because it's a nice thing to do. And you give the money to Joe with joy in your heart. And Joe says, oh, thanks so much. I promise I'm going to pay you back. And you go, okay, yeah, okay. But in your mind, you're like, I don't care if I get it back. I don't need it back because I've given it freely with no strings attached. And you know what? Then Joe almost certainly doesn't pay you the money back, and you're as happy as can be. It's very healthy. You know what else is healthy? It's healthy when Joe says, hey, can I borrow $250? It's healthy for you to kind of flip through your memory bank and say, wait a second, Joe's borrowed money from a lot of my friends before. I know he does not have a good reputation of paying money back. And then for you to set a healthy boundary for yourself and say, you know what, Joe, I'm really not in a place where I can do that right now. And that's going to have to be a hard pass for me. That's completely healthy. Do you know what's not? You know what's not a healthy way to approach it? Joe Blow, who has a relational FICO score of 320, he's not reliable. He's never been reliable. And he approaches you and says, can I have $250? And you give him the money thinking, I'm just going to give him a chance. Maybe he'll change. Maybe it'll be different this time. You know what? Joe Blow really loves me. Joe Blow, we have a really good connection. And I really think Joe Blow is going to turn over a new leaf this time. You know what? Probably not. Probably not. Joe Blow is going to keep being Joe Blow. Could Joe Blow change? Yes, of course. But you know what? Here's what I know that I think people often don't think about. People naively would give Joe Blow the money sometimes. They go, oh, let's give him a chance to change. But the reality is, change is hard. Change takes time. And even when a person is in therapy and going to church maybe and really reading books and listening to podcasts and applying their whole heart and effort to making change, it's still difficult and it still comes with a lot of failures and a lot of setbacks. So that's what I'm saying, right? Even when a person is investing 100% of their efforts into making change, a lot of times still it doesn't happen. Or when it does happen, it happens very haltingly, and it's, 2 steps forward and, 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, or maybe the other way around, maybe 2 steps forward and 3 steps back during certain times. Okay? That's the reality about change. It's not that change can't happen. It's that it very rarely happens. And it's so rare that change happens that if you apply for a loan at a bank and you say you want $10,000, and then you sit down. Of course, I know we don't do this anymore, but in the olden days, right, in the 70s and 80s, and maybe up until, sometime in the 90s, I don't remember when it changed, but you would used to actually have to go and sit at a desk and talk to the loan officer, and they would give you the news, right? You couldn't just apply for it online and get like a quick approval in 30 seconds. And you have to sit there at the desk, and the loan officer would give you the news whether or not you got the loan. And if they said, no, you know what, credit's not good, we're not giving this to you, it's a done deal. You realize that, right? From a FICO perspective, there's nothing you can say. Maybe you pull out a budget that you just sat down and did recently, and you put it on the loan officer's desk and you slide it across and you say, look, I understand the number doesn't look good, but here's my budget. And I've made this big plan for how I'm going to turn over a new leaf and how things are going to be different, right? And you've got all this, and you're really sincere, let's say, and you're really trying to like explain. Then you're going, and here's why that money is so important to me. Like, it's critical for me to move into this new stage of my life that I'm trying to move into right now. Please give me a shot. And chances are very, very high that that officer will slide your budget back across the desk to you. And I don't know exactly what they'd say, but I can tell you the spirit of what they would say. The spirit of what they would say, first of all, what they'd say is, you're still not getting the money. Okay, it would be some version of, sorry, we're not giving you the money. But the spirit of what they would say would be kind of more like this. Look, it's not my job to know your heart, to know your motives, to know whether you're sincere in this change that you're trying to make, to predict whether or not, right, to judge you, right, right? None of that stuff is my job, okay? My job is not to judge or evaluate you and your efforts and whether or not you're sincere. My job is to look at the number on this piece of paper that shows me what you've actually done, and based on what that number says, to give you an answer. And based on what the number says on your credit report, it's a hard pass. And then, in the same spirit, the other thing is, that officer might be thinking, or maybe has thought before, look, go work your plan. It's great to have a budget, right? I hope it works for you. I hope it succeeds. Come back and see me in 2 years, and then look at the number that I'm looking at now. And if that number reflects a change in your actual behavior, I will gladly give you the money. And I'll be so excited to be able to be a part of this awesome new change that you're making. But as long as that number says what it says, the answer is no. You can predict the future that way. You can know, almost beyond doubt, if what a person says to you that they will do is actually going to happen or not. And I said I was going to wrap this up. I know I used to be a preacher, right? So I was in this thing. Preachers are kind of notorious for like saying, I'll wrap up, and then going on, and then, oh, I'll wrap up, and then going on. So anyway, that's kind of my background. But you know, to bring this to a close, why do we do that? Why do we sort of naively give the money to Joe Blow, hoping he'll change? And then when he doesn't change, we're frustrated with Joe Blow, right? We're upset that Joe Blow didn't give us the money back. Well, we could have known he wasn't going to give the money back. Why are we upset with him? He asked for the money. We had the opportunity to say yes or no. We chose to ignore the overwhelming likelihood that we'd never see the money again, and we gave it to him anyway. What are we mad at him for? We just made a lousy choice. But why do we do that? Why do we neglect people's track record and their clear history of actual behavior? Right? Well, there's an easy reason why we do it. It's because we don't want to be true what a lot of times really is true. We're in a relationship. That person who's been critical with us, I mean, we love them. We care about them. We don't want to end the relationship. It's hard. And so we'd rather accept their apology or their promise that they're not going to do it anymore, even though we don't really have much of a reason to, because we don't want to have to deal with the reality. Look, they're probably going to keep doing this, and it might be wiser to find somebody else in your life who's more reliable. Right? We don't want to do it. And I get it. Emotionally, it's difficult. Okay. But it's different, isn't it? It's different to say something is difficult than it is to saying that something is difficult isn't the same thing as the idea that it can't be done. Okay, well, I don't do it because, what if, what if they really change? What if I miss this opportunity for this person to be, all right, look, it's about the fact that we get attached to people and we don't want to make what can clearly